Hello, today I'll teach you a few basic phrases you can use to introduce yourself in Korean. The first phrase is hello. You can say it in three different ways. 안녕하십니까? Put question mark at the end because 안녕하십니까 literally means are you in peace? 안 means peace. It also has Chinese origin. You can also say 안녕하세요 or 안녕. You may wonder what's the difference between these three phrases. These three phrases mean exactly the same thing, but depending on who you are talking to, you should use either 안녕하십니까, which is a very formal way of greeting, 안녕하세요, which is the most commonly used, and 안녕, which means hi. You cannot use this phrase when talking to strangers because it's very rude if you do so. Usually Koreans say 안녕 to kids or to friends. And since you have just started to learn Korean, I suggest you to use 안녕하세요. One more thing I want to talk about in this lesson is romanization. Romanization is the conversion of writing from a different writing system to the Roman script. These are a few examples of romanization. This is hello in Japanese, this is hello in Russian, in Hindi, and in Amharic language, which is the official language of Ethiopia. Each of these scripts, including Korean, have widely accepted system of romanization. I personally actually don't like romanization system for Korean language. I will show you why. Pause the video and try to guess how to read these Korean words. These are 해외, 현대, 그것. To me, this commonly used romanization system for Korean language is very confusing. That's why I didn't use this in my previous lessons, because I think it could only discourage you more from learning Korean language. And my goal is to make the learning process as easy as possible. So instead, I used this. However, since you're learning Korean language, you probably should know about the most common romanization system for Korean. This is romanization of vowels, and this is for consonants. Okay, now let's get back to our self-introduction. The next phrase is 제 이름은 your name입니다. 제 is my, 이름 is name, 은 and 입니다 don't have analogs in English. We will talk about them in a couple of lessons. Here's an example. 제 이름은 마이클입니다. My name is Michael. So to answer a question about your name, you first should know how the question sounds like, right? To ask someone's name, you can use these phrases. 이름이 뭐예요? 이름이 뭐예요? Or 성함이 어떻게 되세요? 성함 is name, 어떻게 is how, and 되세요 is become. These two are both polite ways to ask someone's name, but the second phrase is used when you are talking to or about someone who is quite older than you or has a high position in society. The next important information for Koreans might be your age. You will often get asked how old you are. In some cultures, this question is considered to be very rude because it's too personal. But the reason why Koreans need this information is because they should know how to treat you, like what level of politeness and speech they should use when talking to you. So don't get angry if you get this question in Korea a few times a day. To say your age, use native Korean numbers. I'm 12 would be 저는 12살입니다. Not 12. Let me explain to you why. 살 is a word that is used to measure age. Same as the word hours that is used to measure time, and so on. There are like 15 measure words used in Korean language. We will talk about them in the future lessons. So when numbers that end with 하나, 둘, 셋, or 넷 are followed by a measure word, the last letter drops. Instead of 둘, say 두. 저는 12살입니다. Or 저는 21살입니다. Not 21살. Or 저는 33살입니다. Not 33살. Okay? And to ask someone's age, you can use these phrases. 몇 살이에요? Not 몇, okay? This is 받침, which should be read as 드 when followed by a consonant. If you're new to this channel, you can learn about 받침 in the lesson number 5. 몇 is how many. So this phrase literally means how many years do you have? Another phrase you can use is 나이가 어떻게 되세요? 나이가 어떻게 되세요? This is a more polite and formal way to ask someone's age. Use it when you talk to older people or who have a high position in society. Okay, the next useful phrase is to say where you are from. You can say this in two ways. The first one is 저는 your country name에서 왔습니다. 에서 is from and 왔습니다 is came. For example, I came from Peru would be 저는 페루에서 왔습니다. Or I came from Brazil would be 저는 브라질에서 왔습니다. Or I came from the United States is 저는 미국에서 왔습니다. And I came from France is 저는 프랑스에서 왔습니다. Another way you can say the same thing is 저는 country name 사람입니다. 사람 is a person. So I'm a Peruvian would be 저는 페루 사람입니다. I'm a Brazilian is 저는 브라질 사람입니다. I'm an American is 저는 미국 사람입니다. And I'm a French would be 저는 프랑스 사람입니다. To ask where are you from, you can say 어디에서 왔어요 or 어디에서 오셨어요? Both are polite, but this is more polite way to ask. You can also say 어느 나라 사람이에요? 어느 is which, 나라 is country, and 사람 is a person. The next phrase is used to say about your occupation. If you go to school, you can say 저는 학생입니다. And if you're a university student, then say 저는 대학생입니다. 대학생 is a university student. And if you work for a company, you can say 저는 회사원입니다. Or if you're a doctor, say 저는 의사입니다. And the last phrase is I'm learning Korean. 저는 한국어를 공부합니다. 한국어 is Korean and 를 is the accusative case marker. We will talk about these three things in the future lessons. Before wrapping up the lesson, there is one more thing I want to teach you. If you want to say like, I'm learning Spanish language for example, then use a country name and o. Spanish would be Spaino. French is 프랑스어, 프랑스어. And Russian is 러시아어. So I'm learning Spanish is 저는 스페인어를 공부합니다. I'm learning French would be 저는 프랑스어를 공부합니다. And I'm learning Russian would be 저는 러시아어를 공부합니다. Okay, that's all for today. And this is the list of words we used in this lesson. Try to learn them, and if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section.